In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a home electronics lab by showing you how I've set up my own. I've spent years building it out and learning what works best for my workflow. Hopefully, you'll get to apply what I've learned to your own lab. I'm also going to show you a couple things which frustrate me about my lab to this day so that you may be able to avoid those pitfalls yourself. So the way I'm going to go is in order from here on over. So it's not an order of importance, it's more just an order of how it's convenient to show you. So first I'm going to start with storage. Every lab needs storage for your components and for your tools and stuff like that. So I have these little drawer chests for my components. Everything that you would buy individually and want to keep in its own little box, its own little container, nice and sorted, these are great for. And as you can see here, I have 3 of them set up, all of different types. This one's all the bigger drawers. This one's a mix. This one's all smaller drawers. And most of them are filled up. Even a lot of the unlabeled ones here. Like this one's empty, but this one's got stuff in it. Extremely useful. I highly recommend a system like this. In terms of the location of it, it could be better. It frustrates me a little bit because my main workspace is right here. And when I'm seated right here, it's just an inconvenience to have to get up and come over here for a resistor. And it's only an inconvenience, but when you have to do it multiple times during a prototyping session or experimentation, it just gets old. If you can have your main component storage within arm's reach without even having to get up out of your chair, that's going to be a big plus. But you also want storage for things that are not going to go in drawers like these. Like for instance, you see up here, I've got a bunch of stuff that's in containers, and these are mostly just assortment kits. Like I have my ceramic capacitor kit, electrolytic capacitors, different assortment kits that just sit on top of those. One thing you do not want to do is have boxes like this of unsorted parts. Now, we're all going to have these boxes like this. But the more you can minimize having all these loose parts in labeled or unlabeled bags, the better. Most things I have in boxes like this are because I'm grouping them together for a reason, or I bought them for a specific project and just have never sorted them out into a proper storage space. But you definitely want to avoid doing that as much as possible. Now, next up, what every electronics lab needs is a place for a computer. Of course, you don't have to have a dedicated desktop computer and dual monitors like I do. Once you go dual monitors, you're probably not going back. At least I find this more than just convenient. It's extremely useful to have 2 monitors. I have quite a liberal space here for my computer, but that's because this really doubles as my office space. So I just have to compromise on space between the 2 things. I have my desktop over here, which would be under the desk, but for dust reasons I have it on the desk. It's just another compromise, but what helps is to have this riser that my monitors sit on, so I can push my keyboard up under it whenever I need to write something or draw something out. I can also have my mouse up underneath, and it's nice on space. Moving on from the computer, we have my main workspace. And before we get there, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's this tool wall, and this is just plastic pegboard. And this is where I put all of my most frequently used tools. And actually some of these I don't use very often. I could probably reconfigure it and make it more effective for the way I work. But you see I have my little multimeter mounted here, which since it's my design space, it doesn't see a lot of use right there. I use it a lot more, or I use my other multimeter a lot more for debugging and troubleshooting, which normally doesn't happen in my design space, but we'll get there. It usually happens in my soldering space. But a pegboard or something like it is highly configurable, very customizable, and I would even say modular, because you can get things that are made for this spacing that fit in these holes, even if it didn't come with your pegboards. But ultimately, you can go with whatever you want. There's a lot of different systems out there. It's just really nice to get all the tools up off the desk and onto the wall. So now we'll come on to my main design area, and I kind of move some things back and forth a little bit because I have ongoing projects all the time or things I just haven't taken apart yet. And we'll get some close-ups, but this is where my design work happens. So I have a decent sized space. It's not huge, but it's big enough for what I need it to do. I have some little component organizer trays for the things that I'm designing with all the time and using a lot, like my 1K resistors, 10K resistors, just the really common values of resistors, capacitors, and transistors. Then I have a couple more trays that are a little bit less sorted, but still keeping things neat and tidy. And I have the main space where I actually do my prototyping, which consists of a little bit of open space here so that I'm not real crowded in. And then I have a bunch of components specific to what I'm doing laying here on the desk to the side. And then when I'm done with the project, they might kind of lay there for a little while. But for the most part, I try to put them back away where they go or into a new place every so often at least, just so my desk doesn't get cluttered. And then off to the side here, my main space, I've got my instruments. So in particular, I have my oscilloscope and my power supply. And they're both right here to the side. One caveat here is my desk is kind of shallow. It's best if you can fit your instruments directly behind your workspace so that when you're working, you barely have to look up to see what your instruments are reading out. But a lot of desks, I might even say most desks, aren't designed for that, especially for analog oscilloscopes where that's probably 14 to 18 inches deep. There's just not the space. So you don't want a shallow desk, but you can get away with it if it's not really deep. As long as you've got a decent amount of space in front of you and your instruments aren't turned all the way sideways, but you can get a little bit of a slant out of them, you'll be all right. But ideally, you have your instruments back behind your space. Now, of course, with the newer digital scopes, you could have it right behind and then put your power supply off to the side a little bit, but my oscilloscope is analog, so obviously I can't do that. Now, lighting this space is a custom-made LED fixture that I built. Obviously, you don't have to go custom, and unless it's a project you want to do, I don't even recommend it. But it's a project that I wanted to do, so I did it. And you want to make sure this can get nice and bright to light up your space. And it doesn't have to be super bright, just bright enough to light up your space. I rarely ever turn this all the way up, and I have it dimmer right now than usual, just for the sake of the video. You just want to make sure that your space is adequately lit, and when you're working, you're not in your own light. You want to make sure as you work, you're not casting shadows on your work. There are very few things that's more frustrating than that. So for instance, one thing about this light fixture that I'm not a big fan of is I made it out of aluminum angle bar, which makes a great heat sink, but it's a little bit deep. So the problem is the LEDs don't shine out this way very far. So it shines all the way out to the edge of my desk, which is good. The problem is when I want to go pick something up, it comes out of the light. Right now that's difficult to demonstrate because I have all the extra lights in here for the video. And now we'll move on over here to my soldering workstation. This is really a multi-purpose workstation, but it's mainly for soldering because it's where my soldering stuff is set up. And it kind of doubles as my dirty workstation because it's where I have my chemicals, it's where I can clean stuff off, and it's where I have the little EST soldering mats so I can get that dirty instead of the table, and it just makes things easier to clean up. So in this space I have a couple of lamps. One of them is a custom fixture that I made using a cheap power supply that was given to me and broken, which I rebuilt into a different power supply, and just a regular old store-bought Walmart lamp. I have my soldering tools to my left because I'm left-handed, and I have all of my chemicals and consumable tools, or consumable items, I should say, to the right. And then a little bit of clutter just from past projects that really ought to be cleaned up, but it's the way it is right now. So for the limited amount of space that I have my soldering station and my hot air workstation stacked on top of each other with the iron holder stacked on top of those, which is okay, but it's a little bit inconvenient. So if you can, I would recommend having everything on the same level. Some things are made to stack, some things are all right to stack. These things aren't really made to stack, and I don't recommend you do it unless you're space constrained like I am. One thing I do have that's probably unusual in most cases is a custom-made SMD pick and place tool. It's a little vacuum pump, pneumatic valve block, not pneumatic, electric valve block, and a vacuum hose with a handpiece and a needle on it, which is really useful for if I'm building something that has a lot of SMD parts, or I'm building a lot of things in general that are using SMD parts and I'm just building a bunch of them. Now, another thing that's kind of annoying is this custom fixture that I talked about. I'm just holding up the light using my helping hands, which works as a stand, but it's inconvenient because I can't move around the helping hands as I need because it's also holding my light. So again, unless custom lighting is a project you really want to do, I just recommend buying something from the store. It's like 20 bucks for a nice articulating lamp on Amazon. And then under both workspaces, I have these large 4-foot long power strips, maybe 5 feet long, and they've got a bunch of receptacles each. This is really nice for plugging in all my equipment. You can't have too many places to plug in, so I highly recommend having some of these large power strips in your workspace. And this has been a really quick tour of my home electronics lab, so you can hopefully gain some ideas for how you can set up yours. Now, if you've been into electronics for a while but still struggle to really grasp it or go off on your own without following a tutorial, listen up. I created a solution just for you called Intuitive Electronics Club. It's a mentorship community on School where I personally help you progress from confused paralysis to skilled execution, teaching you how to think intuitively about electronics instead of memorizing formulas and treating them like a black box. It's not a course. It's a premium mentorship where you get hyper-specific answers to your hyper-specific questions as you work through real electronics projects of your own choice, which I help you with all along the way. This is a premium offer for those of you who are serious about leveling up your skills faster and without the usual tail chasing that goes with it. It costs less than going to college, and you'll have a lot more fun learning by doing rather than working through sterile coursework. Click the link in the description and join now. If the price is too steep for you right now, I get it. I'm currently working on a book called An Intuitive Approach to Understanding Electronics, in which I detail the intuitive mental models which I use to understand electronics, from the fundamentals all the way up to digital logic and beyond. Sign up through the link in the description to receive an email when it launches and receive a free preview of the first section immediately. And remember to hit like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe so you never miss an upload of more videos like this one, and give the video a hype. Lots more to come. See you guys in the next one.